the biggest epiphany that I have had that isn't common, and I think that a lot of people have very similar epiphanies, you know, the power of love, the meaning of commitment, you know, that sort of thing. But at a reasonably young age, I was in my early 20s, and I realized what an extreme advantage it was to be born poor and to lose your hair when you're young. When you're 22, 23 years old and everybody assumes that you're 34, 35, they take you much more seriously than they ought to if they realized how young and inexperienced you really are. And so you have all kinds of opportunities that open up to you when you're very, very young and getting very thin on top and you're almost bald. And I said, wow, this is an extreme advantage. I'm really excited about this. And the other thing that happened at the same time is when I realized that most people would say that I came from a disadvantaged home, you know, single parent family, blah, 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 the whole tragic mess. And then from extremely low income. But the things that you learn are an incredible resourcefulness, and you know that if you don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. There's nobody that's going to give it to you, hand it to you, even though they want to, they can't. And so the people in your life are kind of like, hey, you go, boy, but you know, I can't give you money to buy a car or to insure it or to buy gas or have dates or anything. And so you got a tough choice to make. You can either play sports, you can get a job. I mean, I'm 14 years old. And so, you know, most people didn't start learning really meaningful stuff until their early 20s, and I'm like 14. And the big epiphany for me was, man, this is an extreme advantage. Because by the time these other yo-yos are getting out of high school, it's like, dude, I'm 30. I have got a whole bunch of stuff figured out and have made a whole lot of progress that other people are just beginning to realize the world isn't the way they were taught it was. To say it changed my life is to assume that you have a life to speak of when you're 14 years old. I would say it was a forming realization in my life, in the sense that I wasn't frightened by things that frighten other people. In other words, I know how to be poor. Being poor doesn't scare me. Going broke doesn't scare me. I'll make it back. You know, being broke is a very temporary condition. Failure is a very temporary condition. And so, you know, most people are like terrified. My life is over. My life is ruined because they failed, or they don't even take chances because they're too terrified they're going to fail. And once you realize, it's like, shut up. Everybody's going to fail 1,000 times. Just get behind you as quickly as you can and move on to your next opportunity. And so when you're thinking that way, you're less afraid to do the kind of things that bring success. And so Teddy Roosevelt said it this way. He said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And when a person realizes that that's all you've got what you have and where you are, and you're limited to what you can do. Don't worry about what you can't do. And too many people live their life worried about what they can't do. So do what you can with what you have where you are. This is what I'm talking about when I say when you grow up poor and you're not frightened by the things that frighten other people. And it's just a gigantic advantage, and the realization of that has shaped the bulk of my life.